If you're a human, you have a sense of self. And if you have a sense of self, repression happens just as a byproduct of that being there. In this video, I want to help you to totally shift your relationship to yourself so that you can just experience more well-being in your life. You can experience more states of mental, emotional wellness. I need to give you a little bit of history about yourself before we continue. When you were an infant, you actually didn't have a sense of self. You were just open to life. You had no sense of self relative to other. You had no self-definition. And at one point, you began to viscerally detect the reality of pain, of fear, of impermanence, the sense of flow, this lack of solidity, this lack of a definite sense of self. So in response to that, you actually began to contract. You began to tense up. You begin to repress. You begin to close down. And this actually helped you to begin to feel a sense of who you are. This began to form the sense of self. And as you grew up, this habit continued of contracting and closing and tensing and just repressing. And this is responsible for a lot of the suffering that you actually experience. So this habit continued, and it most likely continues today. And because you did it before you actually had a conscious memory, it just feels like what life is. It feels like just how things are. But it's actually not how things are. It's not just how things are. This habit of continuously constricting, tensing up, this messes up the flow of energy in your body, the flow of sensation, the flow of thought, the flow of emotion, the flow of feeling, your impulses. Because when something arises and you don't like it, you have a judgment that it's bad, you start to constrict against it. You have this impulse, this feeling that arises, this thought that arises, and then you have this counter impulse to that of trying to push it down by tensing up your body, by constricting your body, tensing up your muscles. And this is actually extremely uncomfortable to be doing. It's highly uncomfortable. So I want to offer a completely different way of relating to yourself. And this is going to take some practice. This will actually require a long-term development on your part if you're actually sincere about it. When something is just arising in you, just let it. It's incredibly simple, but because we've built up this conditioning of contracting, repressing, tensing up, closing our bodies, restricting ourselves. Because we've built that up, see, we have a lot of stuff to undo before we can just allow what's happening to arise and pass. Before we can really be fully open, we have to investigate our closures, why we're even closed. Not why in this sort of philosophical, abstract sense, although that has value, but more in this way of just applying mindful attention, really feeling it in the body, just seeing plus feeling plus not restricting in the body, not tensing up, not closing, not constricting, not contracting, just allowing the flow of sensation in your body to arise. And even right now, there's actually a flow of energy in your body. There's a flow of feeling. And I'm going to ask you this one question. Are you tensing up, or are you really letting it fully flow and emerge? And just really look into areas of your body where you're habitually storing tension over and over and over and over again, like your shoulders, your gut. Maybe there's a sense of contraction in the heart to kind of defend yourself. In the legs, in the arms. It's actually really everywhere. So just allow the thought to arise. Note it. That's it. Just watching it, feeling it, not constricting against it, not needing to push it down. Allowing it to arise and then pass. Letting go of control. Letting go of needing to control what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Letting go of needing to interfere with it whatsoever. I really like that phrase, just radical non-interference. I was watching this video by Shinzen Young, and I've also read his book, The Science of Enlightenment. And he just stated this term, radical non-interference with the flow of reality. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what that is. It's just radical non-interference. It's like allowing life to fully arise, not controlling it, not trying to repress it as it's arising, allowing it to occupy space in the world, and then letting it pass away. Allowing your current sensations, how you're currently feeling, to arise and then pass, arise and pass. And it's a flow. It's arising and passing, arising and passing, arising and passing. There's a rhythm to it. Allowing emotion to do this, whatever the emotion is, whether it's excitement, you're really excited, just like you were when you were a kid, or you're curious and you want to investigate something, or you're sad, or you feel grief. It's just allowing it to come up and be as it is, allowing existence, allowing yourself to express itself without needing to push the energy down. Why do you have to push your own energy down? Why do you have to constrict what's going on inside of you? Why do you have to repress your own energies habitually? You really notice this when you get more and more into the body, which I talk about a lot in a lot of my videos. Because all this stuff, all these feelings and stuff, they're occurring, right here in your body mind, in your experience. So a massive aspect of healing your relationship to yourself is even letting go of the paradigm that there's anything to even heal. Anything to fix, anything to do whatsoever. Sitting here in just full allowance of what's happening. Allowing your desire for sex to arise and then allowing it to pass. Allowing your desire for food to arise and then allowing it to pass. Allowing your desire for whatever to arise. Letting every single part of you arise, not interfering with it, and then letting it pass as it wants to. Just remaining in a sense of connection to oneself. Just by simply seeing, feeling, and not interfering with what's going on. Not tensing, not closing, not constricting. And if you're constricting and contracting and closing, open to your own constricting, contracting, and closing. Open to your own closing. You don't force yourself to open. If you're closed, you're just watching it, feeling it, not fighting against it. And as you have some emotional security within yourself, these subconscious parts of you will feel safe enough to just open again. What I'm saying in this video is actually quite simple. It's just that because we're going against so many years of conditioning, it's hard. We've been conditioned over time to be closed and contracted, and it feels claustrophobic just being in our own bodies. But it doesn't actually have to feel that way. It can be open and light and spontaneous. So we typically have a lot of instincts and thoughts and ways of feeling and ways of being in the world that got us approval. And the ones that didn't get us approval, the ones that create discomfort of any kind, these are usually a lot of the things that we like to repress. These are the things that when they arise, we try and push them down again. Even feelings of just excitement, a lot of expression, just our open, genuine expression. Even that we repress because we're so afraid of being rejected. It's happened to us at some point in our life, and then we close down because we're so open, and we get rejected and it stings. And this happens when we're very young and we don't have any capacity to regulate ourselves. But now that we're adults, we can safely remain open to experience. We can safely remain open to life. We don't have to always be so constricted and contracted. Like I said, this is really going to be a process that's going to occur over time. I'd be lying if I said that it didn't take me many years. And it's not about how long it takes, really. It's really just about becoming conscious. There's no, I've been doing this for 10 years, the grind, earn my achievements. It's really not about that. It's just becoming conscious. It's really all it's about. But there's typically a process that's going to be involved. It took me a lot of years of meditation retreats. Because this stuff is so deeply conditioned that we can't help but do it. You're not really in control of yourself doing it. It's just happening so involuntarily. Because it's wired into you. And then your conditioning repeats itself mechanically, right? Keyword there is mechanically, in this robotic fashion, kind of just on autopilot. But as you just apply awareness, as you feel, as you just alleviate yourself of tension, the repressed phenomena and the actual pushing down and repressing mechanism, this begins to shatter. All the stuff begins to emerge. And you're safe to really feel it all. You're safe to allow your desires to arise. You're safe to allow emotions to arise. You're safe to right now allow the flow of your own sensations to arise. Really just look at your own body right now. You'll notice that there's certain places that are just tense. You're not inhabiting them. There's no awareness in them. Like maybe you can be aware and inhabit your hand, but maybe you can't be in your gut. Maybe you can't be in your heart. Maybe your head is kind of constricted and contracting. Maybe the side of your hips, maybe your legs. And as you just inhabit your body more and more, bringing awareness into it, feeling it, not tensing up, this is really when you can be in alignment with yourself. This is really when you can be authentic. This is when you can simply experience life in a significantly more easy way. You're not fighting it anymore. It's so simple. You're just not fighting it. You're just done struggling against it. You're not willing to sacrifice your well-being for anything. You just fall in love with being open to life. And that becomes your guiding force. It's so simple. It's almost like if we're just going back to being a newborn baby. A newborn baby is like just totally open to life, right? Just open. It doesn't judge itself. It's not like, oh, I want cake, that's bad. It fully allows its desires and emotions and sensations to just arise freely. So it's like we're going back to that unrepressed openness that we once experienced when we were young. Right? And typically around the age of like 12, we were very solidified in our sense of self. That's when it was like the real deal. Right? This built up over time, and then at one point when the sense of self is solid enough, we're safe to begin to let go of the mechanisms that make up our sense of separateness, separate self. We can just connect to being, connect to existence, connect to right here, right now, connect to the body, be regulated in the moment. No need to meditate an emotion away. No need to do anything in a sense. Just really allowing life to surface in a non-repressing way. And this this just becomes what guides you. It's like all your core instincts that you push down, they come up. You begin to see life in a much clearer way now as well, because you're not fighting against it. The habitual fight and struggle actually muddies the water almost. It's like you're skewing with your own perception of life, which also causes more suffering. You're just simply more regulated, less reactive. You feel safer just expressing yourself. You feel safer just existing. Because all the contraction, it's always storing energy in the body. All the holding patterns, the tensions, you're storing energy in the body. And then the nervous system is just like on fight, flight, freeze. It's just like holding on to all this stuff. And it's just extremely uncomfortable. So there's really not too much to do here. It's very simple. You just see what's going on, apply awareness to it, feel it, and just allow the body to stop tensing up. You just bring relaxation, to the muscles, and then you just remain in that sense of openness, and you'll go back from being open to close, open to close, open to close, because the conditioning is so strong and there's so much fear and all this stuff. But it's like you just slowly go back to just being open. It's so simple because it's just, you're just open to life. There's nothing to figure out. You don't have to anticipate what's next. When you're talking to someone, you don't have to figure out what you got to say to, you don't have to figure out what you're going to say next and what they're going to say. It's just like this trust in life, this trust in what's arising right now, rather than always being afraid, always repressing. This is just the recipe for a lifetime of suffering, and it doesn't have to be that way. It simply doesn't. That's it for this video. If you are interested in working with me one-to-one, you can apply to do so. Link is somewhere. If you are sincere about it, you'll figure it out. You'll find it. Take it easy.